Be at a countdown. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Pretty sweet.
Got a little fizz.
That's right. Let's see if we get this live. It appears we are. Let's see if it works. Check, check. All right, that came through.
Pull it up on a different browser and see.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chat it out with people, see if they can see this.
Does it upload it live as we're streaming? Because I'm seeing like a upload progress bar
Where do you see the upload progress bar?
in the studio side. It says like
Oh
uploading.
no, yeah. So that's for later on. Okay, they can see us. Look at that. How's it going?
Tight.
I got
How do I
you
pull up the chat?
a little bit pixelated. I think you'd have to pull it up on Twitch and just like mute the sound so you don't like get feedback, and then you'll see there. So
All right.
For those of you joining in, it looks like what's up, Sardi? It looks like we're only on Twitch, even though I set it up for Twitter and YouTube. Let's see if we're working on Twitter. Are we on Twitter?
It's just Stack Labs, right?
Yep.
/ and Twitter or on Twitch.
Let's go. Yeah, Twitch, twitch.tv Stack Labs. Yeah. And I think you and I can chat in here. So let's see.
Okay. Yeah, mine is really pixelated, huh?
Yeah,
Dude,
no,
it's my upload speeds subpar.
Well, it says we're excellent in here, so we got that. Show player.
But
Oh,
yeah,
I can see it.
I'm looking at it, but it is I am pretty pixelated.
So they're
It's
telling
slow.
me to make my voice louder. Okay. I don't know if I can do that, guys. So I'll just have to get close as well. Maybe I can turn up my gain. Hold on.
Huh.
All right. So as you've all kind of sorted out here, we're trying something new today, and I appreciate you going with me. I'm still going to try to do my usual things like my intros and whatnot. But as you can see, we got BTC BAP here, which, by the way, your label is not showing up on the stream. So even though you and I see it on ours, they don't see it because I'm looking at it.
Okay.
So this is BTC BAP or Zach, depending on how you like it. So we'll come back here in a moment. Let's see if I can get this little stream intro to work and what the people see. Sorry, guys, you got to bear with me. We're doing some beta testing today.
Yeah, it looks good for us, but
yeah. So on stream, it does not stop. It does not stop our pictures. So we're on there with them.
Yeah, I see that. Is that what you want?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for the charts.
Yeah. Your bug. Yeah, it's just like shit. All right, I'm gonna try something different. I just pulled it off, so whatever. F it.
Are we gonna keep with this one? Or are we gonna?
Which is not what I was going for.
Oh yeah, I just saw it get canceled.
Yep.
I wonder if I could change my camera setting to 720p and then have it come in at a.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. Like change the recording frame, like because right now it's trying to do, 1080.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, just downgrade that shit. Anyway, we'll just keep going, and I'll be able to like edit it together just fine after it's done. So yeah, it tells me that you have it tells me what you have actually, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
your equipment.
30.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming on, dude. This has been a long time coming. So BTC BAP or Zach, as you guys have seen us kind of chatting in Stack Labs, we've known each other for over a year now. Did you realize that, dude?
Yeah. We're like almost a year and a half. It was like the fall of 20.
Fall of 20, yeah. So we have talked about doing something like this for a long time, even since we started talking. You have your podcast, you have your website, which we'll certainly talk about. And obviously, your background is, I think, pretty interesting, which is probably why you and I got, why we hooked up and like had so much fun talking initially, I think. But
Mhm.
I know it. Not everybody does. So if you wouldn't mind, sharing as much as you're willing to about your background and kind of what led you to where you are now. And again, I'm going to keep saying your name and your handle because it's not showing up on stream, which it usually does. So this is
Hmm.
at BTC BAP. You guys can follow him on Twitter. I'll tweet it out as well. But BAP, let them know who you are.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, my name's Zach. I go by BTC BAP. It's just more of a, you don't put yourself out there as more than you need to, right? Like, don't draw
Yeah,
extra attention to yourself. But
sure.
I was a financial advisor, have been most of my career until the Bitcoin bug got me. First in 2017, and then like many of us probably got a little dejected in the like 6 months to follow, and had started like a YouTube channel with my friend back then, and then we took a hiatus, and then in March of 2020, the financial meltdown happened with the COVID crash, and having a background, I studied economics in college, and just
Sure.
having a background as a financial planner, and you know, telling high net worth people how to allocate their wealth, and knowing kind of the money, how money works, or at least thinking I did.
Sure.
Bitcoin, and being a computer gamer, like I grew up playing like World of Warcraft and stuff, right? So
Yep.
like
Yep.
my
Same.
desktop, it's like Bitcoin was this kind of combination of money and computers and freedom, which all of them spoke to me. And so, there was an opportunity really just to leave the current role I was in, and I didn't know where I was going to go next, and it took me a while to get a job in the Bitcoin industry, but eventually was lucky enough to land at Casa, and that was, I think we had met in between, sort of in that time frame where it was like summer of 20 before I started working in Casa, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
got into altcoins a lot in 2017 when I first started, and then went deep in the DeFi rabbit hole during the summer when I wasn't working, and just was kind of just had free time to kill and learn. And then, since joining, or really before joining Casa, have sort of stepped away from the altcoin space, mostly for personal reasons, stress, simplicity, taxes, fees. Um, just but anyway, you've done a good job of keeping me in the loop, and what's going on in the better crypto space. And I'm not a toxic maximalist, as all
No.
although I would still say that Bitcoin will and always be my largest holding, but
Sure.
that could only be if was this Juno, that maybe that'll 1000x, and maybe that won't be the case, right? So
There we
um
go. I like it.
but
He's a Juno maximalist, baby. Let's get it. No,
but thanks
that's
for
funny.
having me on, dude.
Yeah,
And
of course, dude.
we're
And
overdue.
you're right. The evolution of like the time when you and I met, which is super funny because essentially like that's when I was just getting into Binance Smart Chain, and you and I were kind of, I think I recall vaguely, you and I were kind of like bitching about the same stuff at the time, where it was like
Yep.
trying to operate on Ethereum is brutal.
And
Transactions
that
are
was
built
then.
for, yeah, that was that like that's what's so funny about that. I remember trying to do transactions and I was like $26 for, fuck you, for a transaction. Now I'm like,
Right.
$200 transactions. Oh, gas must be
Right.
low right now
Right.
for it to only
Right.
be a $200 transaction, which is crazy. And kind of led
Unreal.
us both to like seek alternatives, which led us to
Right.
Binance Smart Chain, which was the first real alternative. And to pull this whole thing like full circle, which we didn't really talk about before this, I mean, it's built essentially on like Cosmos SDK, right? It,
That
it
that
is
it
a
is.
part of the whole of what we're now come full circle on, which is super funny. But it was far more affordable. It still was an EVM, and that was super funny. So we had some pretty philosophical talks at the time, and obviously, I appreciate your passion for all that. I've always found it interesting because, like, you just described your background, and I appreciate giving out that info because economics and gaming, computer, and like what's going on in the US. Like that's where I've always like really valued your input because you see a little bit different than I do. I fancy myself like a keyboard economist, but I don't know shit. Like I just know what I read and try to process as best I can. So I didn't tell you we were going to do this, but what? Give me your view of where we sit right now, how crypto sits in. Like, give me your 30,000 foot view of what's going on, and then we'll kind of talk about some of the other stuff you do as well.
Yeah. I mean, to be insert a disclaimer, like obviously not financial advice, and
Of course.
more so like I don't keep up with it as much as I used to, right? Because I'm not in that world day to day
Yeah.
anymore. But I still keep abreast of like the higher level macro stuff. As anybody who's invested in anything should, but especially things as volatile as crypto,
Right.
right? So
Right.
what I see with the Fed is more of the same, and it's always like this cat and mouse game of let's control the assumptions, or let's control like the how people feel, like the behavior, the sentiment. The levers are unpullable in the interest rate environment, as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, look, like they've been at zero bound for over a decade, like since
Mhm.
2000, since the financial crisis in
Yeah.
2008, which was luckily like right when I was learning economics. So I saw through all of that BS right away because I was reading the textbooks and they were saying like this is how it's supposed to work, and I'm like, but wait, it's not. It doesn't work like that because like this is happening right now on TV. So I'm
Right.
sensing some contradictions. And yeah, so I think like this whole dangling carrot, we're going to raise interest rates. Jared, they tried to do this in 2014 with like the taper tantrum. Then
Yep.
they tried to do it in 2018. They actually raised rates a few times, and we saw the markets tank 20% in like the month of December alone, basically.
Yep.
It was like 19.99%, which is technically not a bear market. So tell me there's not some people pulling the puppet strings up there.
Yeah. No kidding.
But of course, it was like the second that okay, we're not, after they kind of sucked the wind out of the market, they were like, all right, well, we're not going to do it anymore. And then, they started raising rates. And then obviously in 2020, they just pulled the whole percent. I think it was a whole entire percent overnight.
Yeah.
They just pulled it. And we've been there ever since. But it's even more so now because now we've got the reserve requirement ratio at zero. So banks don't have to keep your money in the bank. They don't, like, it used to be fractional reserves,
Sure.
right? Like you
Which
could
is
lend
messed up
out,
by itself, just to have
right,
fractional reserves, let alone
right. Like, you can lend out 99%. Now they can lend out 100%. And it
Yeah.
may seem like a big difference, but if there's zero tether at all, there's no money at the Fed. There's infinite money at the Fed. They mean the same thing. Like it's because really, like, what is money, right? And that's where I got really into Bitcoin. I think crypto was so fascinating to me. This ability to do like permissionless finance.
Yeah.
I started learning. Well, it's not permissionless. You've got to ask Binance for permission. but I think the general ethos is best represented in Bitcoin, at least as at the moment. And as we got into more tumultuous times, I stopped caring so much about the Wisdom ruse and of like the fancy DeFi and APY yield farming. And I got more interested in like, how do I protect my wealth from the crisis that is unfolding right now?
Yeah.
So that's really was like, it's always been my sort of strategy for pulling off the gas on altcoins and going to hardcore Bitcoin was that I'm in wealth preservation mode. Well, I I thought Bitcoin would be a good wealth preservation. Who knows how much 6, 8 figure gains I might have missed out on? We'll never know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a beautiful background on that because I think you're right. It's funny. You're like, there's no tether. I'm learning about economics as this shit's happening. So I think I'm a little bit older than you, but not much because like I was already out working when all that stuff started happening, and I got the rug pulled out from under me. Like my jobs were
Yep.
terrible. I think out of college, I think I've said this before. I made like 25 grand like my first year, like total 25 grand, and I was like just trying to make rent. I had debt just racking up like crazy, and I'm watching all this stuff happen, and I was like, like this stuff was so crazy to me,
Yeah.
watching this fall apart. And then, yeah, obviously, they completely changed the game a little bit, right? Like, all right, we'll decrease rates, and who cares about even pretending keeping stuff in store, and obviously security has gone a long way too. And I've shared my story all the time, and I want to get into this because I'm very curious about Casa. So if it's okay with you, I want to
Yeah.
talk about Casa, what you're doing now, because I think it's going to be very, very valuable. And by the way, I was just thinking about this. Um, your camera will sometimes go in and out, but in post it'll look amazing because it's uploading from your site. So we're going to be good. So it's going
Oh,
to look
okay.
great. I want to do this because I'm going to cut this and I'm going to share it with my story when I finally do like put my full story to something to help others.
Cool,
But
cool, cool.
security, and I've never really done that. I've gotten pretty close, but I've never actually shared the whole thing, and I will. But security is important when you have financial system that you think you can trust. But can you trust it? And how do you know? And if Bitcoin is the hard money we all retreat to, how do you secure that? So I am
Right.
unfamiliar. Real, I mean, I know what Casa is, but not really. So tell me what you're doing now. Why you decided to go there, and why people watching this either today or in the future when they see this should be interested.
Yeah, yeah. So, I think when it comes to Bitcoin security, there's layers of security. The nodes make the network secure in that if miners try to hard fork it, their work will be worthless because it'll won't be Bitcoin if they hard fork, as long as the nodes aren't accepting those blocks. The miners also contribute to the security as far as like the proof of work that they do, make sure that the history of the chain of events hasn't been compromised. So
Sure.
those are two layers of security. The one that we're talking about here is more of the end user side of security, and that's
Yep.
what's so cool is like all of these systems together depend on each other.
Mhm.
And because if no one could depend on public private key encryption to hold their Bitcoin sound on the blockchain, then everything else would fall apart. So
Right.
you wouldn't be able to move Bitcoin, sell it, etc. So I think that from a high level, Casa makes that end user standpoint approachable. The first block in Bitcoin said, the chancellor on the brink of bailout for banks, right? We're talking about the financial crisis and sort of unfolding, and the whole sort of higher level message that I think that spoke to is the fact that if you get your money, keep your money in the banks, like it's not unequivocally safe. Like there's no guarantee.
Sure.
Like even if it's there, it's been devalued through the bailouts, et cetera.
Right.
So, and Bitcoin said it from the very beginning, and so it's important that it talks about like that taking self custody, right? Like it alludes to it at least because that's how you prevent the bailouts and the fractionalization. And so you only can get that though if you take self custody. If you keep your Bitcoin on Coinbase, what's the difference between keeping that on Coinbase and your dollars at Chase?
Right.
They're pretty much the same,
Right.
except if Coinbase gets hacked and your Bitcoin are stolen, you're out of luck. Whereas
Right.
if Chase gets hacked, the Fed can print more money and replenish you. So it's like all of the downsides with none of the positives. So to me, like if you're going to take crypto, if you're going to hold crypto, you see crypto as a value proposition, then you should be considering taking self custody. And so lo and behold, though, taking self custody, being your own bank, being Chase, being Coinbase, is a lot of responsibility and takes a lot of expertise, right? And so
Yeah.
what Casa does is essentially, from a high level, make it easy so that you can't, well, not you can't, but makes it very, very hard to lose your Bitcoin.
Sure.
And that goes for people who are just starting out. From if you hit pricing, I can kind of like explain the different levels because it's dead in the center. So for somebody who's just starting out, right, like they might not need a hardware wallet. If they only bought $50 worth of Bitcoin, they don't need to go buy a $60 ledger device.
Right.
So for them, getting their very first Bitcoin in self custody, it needs to be, we need to remove those like roadblocks
Yeah.
from doing it. And so what Casa's free wallet does is single key wallet, just like your ledger, just like any other free mobile wallet. Difference is that that key is backed up to your cloud. So if you lose your phone, you drop it and it shatters, somebody steals it but can't get in, you can repopulate your wallet from your iCloud, and that will still allow you to not lose your funds. So cool option there. But what really Casa does is the multi-sig option, which I think is what we're wanting
Yeah.
to talk about,
Yep.
which essentially is like taking multiple public and private keys, pairing them together, and removing the critical dependency of any single one of them. So
Sure.
if you put all your money on a ledger, like and you lose that ledger or somebody else gets that ledger, funds are gone. Funds no longer SAFU. But with this gold or the platinum 2 of 3, 3 of 5, that means that you need the first number out of the second number's total of signatures. So in a
Mhm.
most basic case, let's say that you've got, 10 Bitcoin in your ledger wallet. Well, what you would do is pair two ledgers with Casa together. That would create three keys.
Interesting.
And then in order to spend funds out of that wallet, you've got to sign with two of those three. So if you lose one of those ledgers, you haven't lost your Bitcoin. Or if somebody gets the seed word to one of those ledgers, they can't get your Bitcoin.
Right.
Or if
right.
Casa gets hacked, Casa can't compromise your Bitcoin because they
Sure.
only have one.
Sure.
So it's this
sure.
sort of collaborative custody model, which as you get to the higher up plans allows you to do more fancy things like inheritance, right? Like if you've got, all this money, Jared, and Bitcoin, and you pass away, how do you ensure that your heirs are going to be able to get the Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like if you've got young kids, they're probably not worried about it, but like your spouse, for example,
Yeah.
how do you know that your spouse is going to get the Bitcoin, but yet not give them the keys to the castle where they maybe make a mistake and get hacked and compromise your whole wallet before you pass? So it's this really it's not for everyone, right? But it's for the long-term hodler. Having multiple signatures is signing with the ledger device for Kepler wallet, right? Like it's a pain in the butt having to do the thumb through everything, right? So imagine doing that like 5 times every time, or 3 times. But for your long-term hodl stash for your Bitcoin, and maybe eventually for altcoins as we expand the offerings. It's different blockchains, so it's different. But that's essentially what we do. We make your being your own bank easy and less intimidating. If you're holding a lot of Bitcoin, mistakes can be expensive and they're forever.
Yeah.
So
no, it makes total sense. And I obviously was very cavalier with my holdings for a while, and this would have saved me, right? It wouldn't have mattered that what happened to me happened, right? I would have had a fail safe, and it could have saved me a significant amount of money. So that's pretty wild. Now, would you say that the majority of people here are these like high net worth individuals? Are you working with like businesses, or people that are trying to invest and put part of their balance sheet into Bitcoin? Is there kind of everything?
All of them, yeah. I would say like we've seen the largest percentage growth from the business aspect.
Sure.
Just as Bitcoin advances as a asset class and gets more mature, companies are starting to look into it. That being said, like we are still, our bread and butter is individuals, right? Family offices. Like if you've got, what I've seen a lot is, and being like on one of our sales reps, what I've seen a lot is people who, like, let's say like mom, dad, brother, all own Bitcoin. None of them like want to be the point of failure, right? Like each of them can hold one key and work together to sign and move funds out. But the beauty is that if you want to move funds in, no signatures, right? So you just need the deposit address.
Sure.
So it's very, very easy to secure it. It's just a little more tedious to take it out of the secure vault, which is by design.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. In fact, what we were talking about a little bit ago, and I was pulling it off because it was a darker screen, but I figure we can put this up here because Bitcoin's having a good day, which I'm sure makes you happy. But that like combined family vault, or that combined, like we can all contribute to something we believe in, passive and combined. I've talked about that, where it's like, for most people, DCAing into Bitcoin is probably the right move. You try to time the top or time the bottom on something that you believe the macro move is generational, not like, intraday. That's a trying to time that stuff is a really, really bad idea. So yeah, very, very neat. I've always liked it. You and I talked about some moves that I made recently. Obviously, we're not going to talk about here, but something that I'm going to be doing because I need those fail safes. And quite frankly, I've had this real conversation with my wife, and I've married. I have a small, my son's 4, and she doesn't know anything about this, like how to do this stuff.
Right.
If you die,
and like just having just having somebody to call and talk to, and these advisors can like help work with you to secure your balance, like on our client service team, but cannot access your balance. And that's like multi-sig is cool that way, because having one key is like 1 of 5, but if you have 4, you're the only person who can move funds. So it's like, it feels like a relationship with Coinbase or like one of these concierge custodians, but yet by design, by it still is that same ethos of self custody. It's actually way more secure than like your just single signature hardware wallet, right? Like
Yeah.
for me, that's how I got into all of this. Like working at Casa, was like started using Bitcoin as a much larger position of my savings, and with that, scared the living hell out of me that my ledger device was like a point of failure.
Yeah.
Like I told you the other day, like I had like a personal scare. Like, dude, I just couldn't sleep.
Right.
Like I don't have that much, but it was
Right.
enough to care about. Like,
Absolutely.
and
Could you
uh,
imagine? Yeah.
yeah, and Casa has been like just working in the Bitcoin industry and just
Sure.
crypto in general. Like there is a quality of life that I just didn't even know existed, man. Like
Right.
I truly really appreciate and enjoy the company of my coworkers. Like all of my coworkers are very passionate, creative, outside the box thinkers like you and I, like not scared to go out and take risks and try
Sure.
new things. And the work life balance, like just overall, like the whole crypto industry is, I think, it's a true get. While Bitcoin may year to date may not be what, or the 1 year 365 trail may not be what I like to see, compared to my buddy Solana. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. No
Um,
kidding.
I got to say that there's more to life than just money, and
Yeah.
working in the Bitcoin industry, get a job at Casa has been an
That's
absolute
awesome.
blessing, dude.
That's awesome. Very, very cool to see. And what's funny is you talk about the single point of failure, and I'm rereading. I've never read it in its entirety. I've just read Cliff Notes, but I'm rereading and listening to Anti Fragile right now.
Mm.
Um, uh,
Nassim.
yeah, by Nassim, and like the guy kind of runs out on a limb where sometimes you're like, all right, bro, rein it back in. But the point is like the anticipating the black swan isn't a
Yeah.
thing, right? And so you can't anticipate a black swan, but you can try to prepare yourself and plan
Mm.
appropriately. And like what you're talking about, essentially, and I believe it too. Like the financial system is in an interesting spot. We don't know what's going to happen. And people would say, well,
Mm.
there's no way that the dollar is not going to be the prevailing world currency. There's no way that there is a way. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And what are you doing to prepare yourself for that? Right.
when everything shut down, like I distinctly remember when they were talking about like the pandemic, like in early March,
Yeah.
and I was like, there is no way they're just going to shut the whole country down. This
Yeah.
unthinkable. Now I'm like, oh yeah. No, that could totally happen anytime.
Yeah, we'll print our way out of it. No, there won't be any repercussions to the currency long term because of that. Wait, yeah, actually there is. Yeah, that's something we certainly need to talk
I
about. So,
remember, dude, when
yeah,
they announced the trillion, they were sending $1,200 to every
I know,
citizen.
I
I
know.
was like, it's Chuck E. Cheese money, dude. Like,
Yeah,
what?
it's
What?
ridiculous.
They doubled unemployment. Dude, I remember like unemployment was like I think it's like $1,200 a week, dude.
a week, you're
A
making
week.
five
It was
grand a month
50.
to
The
hang out. Yeah,
it was a $50,000 a year salary,
Yeah.
dude. You said like your first job was 25 grand.
That's right.
Jared,
That's right.
this was double your first job salary for unemployment, dude.
For
No
hanging
wonder I
out.
was like going
Yeah.
around like looking at, altcoin casinos and being like, oh, what's this Ave do,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I gotta say, God bless them because a lot of those people took that money and poured it right into crypto. And so, like, I'm here for it. I did pretty well during that period. But like at the same time, long term, I don't like what that says for my kids
Yeah.
and the country at large. But hopefully,
Well, it's your responsibility. I think like the part of the problem with the state of the United States is that so many families and businesses even now we'll toss aside like why, but just so many businesses and individuals are dependent upon the government to survive, whether
right,
that's through like PPP money so they can keep their employees paid,
right.
or individuals on, stimulus checks or whatever. And I think what like you've seen is like you have to be the opposite, right? Like you are doing that too. Like you're saying like I don't like that for my kids. Well, you're taking action. You're not complaining about my kids are going to live in some effed up world. You're saying I'm going to take the what opportunity, the knowledge that I have, the capital that I have, and I'm going to grow it to make sure that my kids aren't stuck in that mass majority
That's right.
of people who are dependent on the state.
But isn't
I'm
that
going to
so
give my
sad,
kids an
dude?
option.
But
Yeah,
here's the
it
thing: there's people
is.
that are dependent. There's people like us that are taking on our our outcomes into our own hands, and it's like pull yourself up from your bootstraps. And like, look, I'm all
Easier
about
said, yeah.
yeah, I'm all about that, right? Like, I don't come from a rich family. I don't think you do either, right? So, I had to
Rich
work.
in spirit.
Yeah, if exactly right. Good people work hard, and I'm very very proud of that. At the same time, you know, we had enough for me to get educated, to get a degree, to get
Right.
the job, to learn. Not everybody does, right? Like the
Right.
socioeconomic um, uh, chains are real, and people are going to
Mhm.
be a victim of this, and they just haven't had the opportunity to learn about it, and that's fucked up. I mean, there's no other way for me to put that. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't, that shit
Well,
makes me
and the
mad.
snowball,
Yeah,
man. Like the snowball effect is real. Like if you make 200K, there's no way you can't save at least 25,000 a year
right,
and like invest. You should be
right,
able to at least save 50K
yeah,
if
no
you make
kidding.
that much. But like let's say 25. Whereas like if you make 50K, your expenses, it's like a diminishing marginal returns, right? Like your expenses may be or your income may be one quarter of the person who makes 20 or makes 200K at 50K,
Yeah,
but your expenses are probably 60 to 70%
yeah,
still.
as a
So
percentage, vast, yeah,
right. And because we're in this inflationary environment, every dollar that you have that's invested is compounding at a rate greater than inflation because of inflation.
right,
So the more of your income you can save, the quicker you can get this snowball built and get the hell out of this trap, right? But if you don't have the ability to save, you can't start building that snowball. And if you can't start building that snowball, it doesn't get any bigger quick enough. And
right.
if it doesn't get any bigger, you get so far behind that you'll never ever catch up.
And I
Like
feel like that's
you're
exactly
stuck
where we
behind
are.
forever.
That's
Right.
exactly where we are. And it's
From
like we're
almost
trying
everyone.
to yeah, we're trying to get into that escape velocity.
It's
And I
hard to
feel
catch it.
it's hard to catch it, but like those of us that are trying to adapt early will, but like what's gonna happen afterward? Oh my God. Like I don't even know. I can't even say.
Uh,
And that's horrible. And like, look, I still you probably we may differ here. I still maybe not. I don't think you're gonna say you disagree. Like I still hold out hope that the USA will figure it out, that the Fed will figure it out. I'm not putting my money there. That's why where I am, but I'm not 100%
right,
writing
right.
it off either. But we've shown that any sort of major stress test on the system is going to result in essentially throwing like the baby out with the bathwater,
Right.
right? So it's
Right.
like I'm going to hold out hope, and I hope that that's what happens because what will happen to what the impact for people that have no control over their own outcomes is super fucked up, and I'd rather that not happen. But I will plan like it's going to and invest accordingly, right?
You know, I this guy Jeff Booth, he's an author. He has this book called The Price of Tomorrow, and he talks about how like deflation and the technological forces of deflation, or
Okay.
sorry, the deflationary forces of technology. And basically says like there's so many people in Earth, and there's such a efficiency gain that's coming from technology growth that it's putting ultra deflationary pressure on money,
Sure.
because not only are there more people to compete against for the same job, but now that job is less needed anyway because the computer can do it at a cheaper cost than any of you that are competing against for it. So the deflationary pressure makes people have to take lesser wages than they otherwise would. And so anyway, I got the pleasure to chat with him at the Bitcoin conference in Miami. And he's just an awesome person, like to just chat with, like great energy about him.
Sure.
But one of the things he talked about, I was like, I asked him, well, is this why they can get away with the inflation? Because there's so much deflation from technology and population decline in developed countries that they're actually able to 5x the money supply and it not cause hyperinflation.
Interesting.
Uh,
Interesting.
and I like I don't remember what he said, but but I
But he
think
was
he
like,
like
"Well, son of a bitch, I hadn't thought about that."
yeah, I think he liked it. So
That's
if
so
he's a
funny.
Stack Labs listener, we'll hopefully get
I
him to
love it. I love it.
correct the ship. But
We'll
yeah,
get him
so I think
eventually.
that because that's what I've been trying to figure out. It's like, all right, why aren't we at 500K Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Like
Why is
they
this? By the way, look at this today. The dollar just straight down the whole day. So like the fact that off of so like this is the high, right? The highs for Bitcoin was right here on the dollar,
Yep.
right? And this is what we've seen
A year
move
ago.
a year ago, where we are now. Year over year, the dollar's up a lot, right? That
Even
does not make sense to me.
so, DXY is a basket index of the
Right.
dollar relative to other fiat currencies.
Okay, sure.
So to me, and I don't know the exact index, it could have commodities and stuff built into it too, which would help
Yeah.
average it the weight out. But uh assuming it's just fiat currencies, it's like, well, okay, well, because the dollar's lost less value than
Other
The Turkish
yeah,
lira and
right.
the euro and the
Sure.
Australian dollar and other, which to me makes sense. Okay, the DXY strengthened, but if this does take into account like price of natural gas, gasoline, commodities, Bitcoin, I don't think Bitcoin's price is in here,
Yeah, probably
but
not. Yeah.
that would explain it to me. But if you
Interesting.
look at DXY, it tells you the dollar's strengthening. But if you look at Kroger and Co., the dollar has not strengthened, dude, because my grocery bills are higher than they've ever been.
Right. Right. That's interesting. I never really thought about that as comparative versus other fiat currencies. So it's just like at the top of the shit pile, and like therefore you give a false
Right.
sense of strengthening.
Right. Put lipstick on a pig, dude. It's still a pig.
That's funny. That is so funny. By the way, Price of Tomorrow, very interesting. I'm gonna check that out. I put that in my Amazon cart.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
man. Great
I,
book.
I was also checking out. Obviously, this is you, right? This is your site.
Mm. Took a design class on Webflow and
Nice.
learn how to build a website with some like low code interfaces. Yes, I made that Catalxy Cache. So
Galaxy Cash. Yeah, I was reading this because we've talked about it before, but like well, I'll let you explain it. Go ahead.
yeah, no. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just going to your about page, and it's like, all right, what is this? And I'm like, it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
Galaxy
yeah.
Cash.
So Catalxy is like another word for economy. I very much grew up again like learning economics, and so it resonated with me that when I learned this word a few years ago, I think it was Francis Pulio who I might have learned the word from. Who's like
Okay.
he runs Bull Bitcoin, which is a Canadian exchange.
Okay.
Um, freedom fighter for sure, and not like the if there's any kind of like cult or something, just like
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
he's just passionate about liberty, and I love that. But anyway, the guy I read about it because it's another word for economy. Essentially, it's I think part of our problem in the modern world, and by modern world I mean like 100 years of finance, is that we think that policy from the top can dictate and correctly right the ship top down, whereas
Right.
the word catalyxy says no. Individuals know what their wants and preferences are and what their willingness to pay for a certain thing is. And so taking that, people know what's best for them, generally speaking, assuming they're rational. And the word catalyxy is more of a bottom up. It's another word for economy saying that let's not try to be the Fed overlord and make decisions. Instead, let's let the free market actors act and we will be put into equilibrium exactly where it was meant to be.
Hmm.
And so the idea is like we are this like decentralized free market group of people that are acting on our own in our own self-interest, but with the proper mechanisms that have been like the proper game theory, if you will, can be the what's best for the individual can also be best for the group because what is a group if not just a group of individuals, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not just a
For
bunch
sure.
of individuals. So
Yeah.
I think that's like, I think that's the way to look at it. And then the cash part is like, yo, we're Cash Money, right? Like Cash
Yeah.
Money
Yeah.
IO. And then on top of that, we've got the love of the digital world, right? Like the crypto cash, computer cash. And then like there's a play on that. We're hiding in plain sight because I think that's like a lot of us are. So Catalyst Cash, we're like group of individuals, bottom up economies, hidden in plain sight. right
Sure.
there,
I like
coming
that.
for you. We're gonna rise up right when you least expect it. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I like that. I like that. So
um,
you have learning resources. I've always like, I think I heard you did like a class somewhere where you did like an hour-long session that I thought was really fascinating.
yeah,
Um,
dude, I did a talk on inflation a year ago, last February,
yeah.
and I was like, "Hey, inflation's coming, you guys better get ready." Sure enough, it did. But Bitcoin is what have since then.
Yeah, yeah, no
Got the
kidding.
call right, trade wrong.
Yeah, call right, trade wrong. But I think the trade is this is the part that I've always found pretty interesting. And I'm gonna go back here just because your website's bright and I'm a dark mode maximalist. But I'll go back to it in a second here. I've always wondered about Bitcoin because I agree in principle with everything you're saying about getting the trade right long term and inflation as a hedge against inflation and dollar and yada yada yada.
Mhm.
I just wonder about the control OGs have over Bitcoin
Yeah.
and that actual dispersion
Mm.
uh to more people, because I think that's quite honestly a problem. It's the reason why this chart looks the way that it does, in my opinion, is that a large portion of holders are OG holders that have made a ton of money. They
Mm.
believe in it long term. And they also have their levels where they're like, we'll market make. Whether you want to be a market maker or not, when Bitcoin gets to $69,000, you're like, yeah, you know what? I remember when I bought this for 12 bucks. I'm gonna take some off the table here. And then you get supply. And we haven't
Right,
even
and it's
really
such
ever
a
yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
and it's
So what
saying
it
it's such a little supply, little amount. To us, it's like 50 coins. Oh shit, right? But to them, it's like 50 of their 10,000 that they have, and it's like,
right.
oh, I'm taking off a
Yeah, this
point
is
five
nothing.
percent of my
Right.
allocation, right?
Right, right, exactly, and it's like that sort of annoys me about this, like, it's maybe the
Yeah.
worst part, probably the biggest detraction on Bitcoin is that, and, like, even though for a long time, I even, like, made jokes to you, I was like, "This fucking Sailor guy, I just need him to shut the fuck up." It's not Sailor doing that, right? That
Yeah,
guy's
yeah.
that
Right.
guy's
He's
purely
hodling
acquiring.
all of them.
He's holding it like, I'm all for that, like, if that's all we got, like,
Right.
I'm here for it, right? I love it
Right.
because that only brings up supply that like, there's gonna be demand
Right.
down here all the time because he's looking to add and he's raising funds to do it. Like, I'm here for it. I love it. But then you got these people that have tens of thousands of coins, and it's like, oh well, that wallet, yeah, one person probably has multiple wallets custody of a ton of
Right.
Bitcoin, and
Right.
we just don't even see it. So that kind of annoys me, which is part of the reason, quite frankly, why in my experience, what's partially attracting me to Cosmos and Atom, and what's partially attracting me to that whole ecosystem is it is the most pure form of fair launch and decentralized governance that exists right now in crypto. And I don't know if that's what brought you to it, but I know you've been typically altiverse, and I've been trying to pill you into Cosmos and Juno and all that. But like, you look at Juno, Juno was 100% drop. There's no
Yes, I read
VCs.
about. Yeah.
Like, it's pretty wild. And like, I was watching a video the other day about the governance of Cosmos, and it's kind of haphazard in so much as there's no one person, but it's also kind of beautiful because it's a lot of people contributing to one ecosystem, and there isn't one fucking Satoshi or
Right.
Vitalik or somebody that's just sitting there like, hey man, I'm going to dictate what happens here. So how do you view that?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things to me about Cosmos is that there is no, I mean, like, although the Atom token is like native to the Cosmos hub, like the whole Cosmos is like a web of blockchains, right? So
Right.
it's possible that like something like Osmosis could be the hub and not Cosmo or not Atom, right?
That's
Like,
right. That's
and
right.
like there is no like we are de facto the winner because it's our chain,
Right.
which I think contributes to that dispersion that you're mentioning. Um, the fact that like the SDK came out way ahead of like any of the other, it was very aptly timed.
Yeah.
That's how I got to learning about Cosmos in the first place, was because when we were screwing around on CZ Smart Chain,
That's easy smart
um,
chain. Yeah.
yeah, and it was easy to screw around on CZ.
Yeah.
But then the fees got high for that too, man.
I know. I mean, it's
But
relatively. You look at it, you go, "That's no big deal." Like, yeah, I'll pay $8, and like, fine. But when we first started trading, it was like four
it was
pennies.
pennies.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I wouldn't like, yeah, but so Cosmos, but like I got keyed into it then because I was like, oh, okay, this is doing the same thing Ethereum's doing. This DeFi stuff's very interesting. Um, but it's not comes with like the but the fees, you know.
Right.
And for someone who's not a mega whale, because I didn't get into Bitcoin in 2011,
Right.
and you know, and also someone who's not going to put $100,000 into like DeFi because I'm aware of the smart contract risk, et cetera. Like,
Yep. Yep.
at least not right now, because that would be a lot of money.
Yeah, a large portion
um,
of yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't
yeah,
advise
like,
that either, to be honest with you. You got to
yeah,
do what's right for you. I don't care who you
right,
are.
right.
Obviously, I
I
believe
think
in this stuff. You got to do what's right for you.
like I think like anyone should have like more than half of your wealth should be in savings.
Right.
Like whatever that is, whether it's cash, Bitcoin,
Yeah.
liquidity pool tokens
No
for
doubt.
Osmo, dude, Uniswap, whatever, but it should be in what you view is mostly stable, dude, because things can change on a dime, you know?
100%.
And having surviving is name of rule number one. Survive, survive,
Yep.
survive, right?
Yep.
But the Cosmos stuff, like to me, like I've been interested in that for a while. I've been watching it. I was like, I got airdropped some like Kava like a
Okay.
year, long time ago, dude.
Sure.
Like I just took a quiz on like Coinbase and got like some $3 worth.
Oh
Or some
yeah, I've
shit.
seen those. I don't think
It worked. It worked because I like read about the whole ecosystem, dude. So the $3, I mean, you know, so I had been like kind of following that, and then I learned that they had integrated with Cosmos,
Yeah, yeah.
and so like kind of those things were all happening, and then learning about Osmo and like I've been reading about Curve, and I don't participate in any stuff on Ethereum, and really like I limit my exposure to altcoins like
Yeah, pretty severe,
significantly.
which you should.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
we're talking like under 5% allocation.
Yeah.
Like it's more of like I view it as entertainment. I truly do. Like if I was like I was gonna go to the casino and drop $500 on the night, like I enjoy like reading about these like straight up degenerate chains and learning about like all this crazy stuff they can do with cryptography. To me, that's like entertainment.
No
It is
doubt.
not an investment, and it is certainly not saving strategy. I
Right.
view Bitcoin as a saving strategy. So
Sure.
just to like be
Sure.
clear on how I compartmentalize them, right?
That's fair.
But to me, like having its own native chain, the app chains module type
Yeah.
style, I think instead of Vitalik and crew that's like, hey, let's move fast and break shit. They're like, let's like actually think about how this might work if a billion people were using it first, build that, and maybe we won't like get all the hype like up front, but when it does get hype, it's actually going to work.
Yeah.
So that's where
Yeah.
I see it fitting in today. If you can move all the value that's locked up in Ethereum to multiple app chains that could somehow work together, I think you know there's definitely like there's a place for it. I don't know what it's worth.
Right.
That's why I keep it to that small of an allocation.
And the
'Cause I
funny
don't know
part
what it's
is
worth.
that's my understanding of what ETH 2.0 is supposed to be, right? And so
Right.
there's a little bit of like you're driving in the backseat watching Ethereum go through these growing pains with proof of work and trying to like migrate to proof of stake. And they're able to
Right.
go, look, we're gonna, like you said, plan for a billion people to join this thing. Let's talk about how IBC works. Let's have a standardized, development kit or software development kit that people can just onboard and have it work really, really well. And then we'll back into it. And let's not do anything fucked up, like with VCs and inviting in all these people. And like, yeah, Kava being like your entry through Coinbase, dude. I've done those quizzes when I'm bored too. And I'm like, yeah, I'll mess around with that. I think I got like $30 a graph token at one point, and I was like, oh, this would be cool
Mhm.
for Web3. Like you're just messing around. Not that I needed the money, but like I'll take a free dinner whenever I
Right.
need it. And then I'll
If you
learn
sell
something.
it.
Yeah,
If
that's
you
right.
sell it. If you're still holding it, you ain't had that dinner
Yeah,
yet.
a little bit less now.
Yeah, now
Um,
you got like a discount McDonald's lunch at this point.
Right. By the way, and I've not posted about this yet, but we got some people watching, so I figure I'll tease it. The reason why I haven't posted it yet is that I sent the invite, he agreed to the time, and he has not confirmed. Allegedly on Wednesday, Jack Zamplin from Cosmos is going to be on stream. So Jack was a co-founder of Cosmos. He's a core contributor with Juno. He is the co-founder of Sommelier Finance, which is cross-chain. So just those of you watching that are interested, I'm pretty sure Jack's going to be on literally 2 days from now, which is going to be sick. And Highlander's going to join me too because I didn't want to get in a situation where me, a dumb person, is talking to a co-founder of Cosmos, and then we get into a technical discussion, and I'm like, oh God, what's going on? So Highlander Nodes is going to join me and kind of help me make sure I don't get in over my head. But yeah, you guys can start spreading
Navigate
that.
the
I don't know.
waters.
Yeah, maybe at Jack and be like, yo, you coming, man? Confirm the invite. So that'll be pretty sick. But yeah, I mean, like the Cosmos aspect to me is very, very interesting. I like how it's all fair launch. I like that you got involved too, because I think it's a little bit different and probably maybe scratches a little bit closer to your ethos, a little bit closer than like the Ethereum machine.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, Ethereum was like total VC.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, I think it was only, I think it was like 15 or 20% was public launch. There,
Yeah.
I found some infographic. You may have seen it. It's like all of the common like DeFi layer one chains, and it shows like the pie chart of their distribution on initial launch.
I've
Have
not
you seen that?
No, God, I need it. Please send it to me. I will pull it
Here,
up. God.
I let me all right, yeah, let me find that and I will drop it. Yeah, so this is actually something we could talk about. So Bitcoin, right? Like fair launch, no VCs. You make a point that the early hodlers got in and they control a large portion of it. I agree with that. Here's where
I'm really
I
just
think
jealous is what it comes down to. I mean,
oh yeah, you and me both. But think of this, right? Like, so if Bitcoin was, let's say, the reserve asset in the future, well, in that case, if you're a big Bitcoin hodler, the only way to extract value from the world's economy is to disperse your Bitcoin. And because you're never going to get it at that low of a cost basis, again, every time, in order for you to get resources out of the economy, you have to spread that Bitcoin out. So it will, over
Right.
time, because it's a fixed supply. And again, this could be hundreds of years, right? Like, but over time, it should become fairly distributed, certainly more distributed than the dollar is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I think that is the problem. It is a problem for Bitcoin, and it's also a problem for Ethereum. It's also a problem for Solana. It's also a problem for
I think
pretty much every chain.
Shit,
Like,
this is amazing.
and
Okay,
yeah,
I need to find
let's
a way to
talk
pull
about this
up.
as we pull this up.
How do I do this? I've never, so as you guys know, I'm not going to use this with Jack. I don't like it enough to do it with Jack, but I appreciate you trying with me here. But this is really, really interesting. Okay, how do I save as? Oh, okay. Let's see. Media. This is interesting. Live producing and something that I've never done before as a tech guy. Very, very, or as a non-tech guy, very dangerous. Okay, very dangerous.
That flip to resistance bar looks very dangerous, dude.
Don't even get me started.
39K is like my line in the sand, dude. I got a lot of basis there.
I would rather it. I would rather it not.
I mean, I've got enough that's not at 39, but
all right.
that was
Let's see if
I got happy at 39K. I was like, we've got to. There's no more waiting. We were joking. It's like I'm good at long-term macro calls, but atrocious at short-term timing.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Gets into Cosmos, 30% drop versus Bitcoin in a week.
Yeah.
That's why I keep it like, hey, never gamble. And I very much do view altcoins as a gamble. I mean, I think Bitcoin's a gamble. Like, it's a gamble on, are people going to get their, man up and fight back the government that's been devaluing our money since the beginning of time? It's a gamble on people's resiliency, to be fair. So,
yep. No, I agree. By the way, I have it up. I'm literally just using what you sent me in Telegram. So I can't really click around on this. Just kind of doing it directly so people can see. Excuse me. But I mean, look at Solana. Are you fucking serious?
I know. That's why I was like, Solana has no public sale, dude. That's like 1%.
This is the most bullish thing I've ever seen for Juno. Okay. This is the most bullish thing I've ever seen for Juno. Because again, Juno is Solana fast, built on Rust, just like Solana, but obviously interchain in the Cosmos and like fair launched, great people involved, continue crushing, don't really give a shit about it. And there's not a ton of VC selling pressure. Like it's look at how great Cosmos is as an eco. essentially the Atom
in
token,
its
right?
own. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's
22% for insiders, 9% community, but large of it was public
yeah,
pre-sale.
really impressive. 69%. Are you kidding me? Like
You know
that's
what's interesting is the EOS. I was like,
yeah.
"Whoa, really?" But like
Wow.
ICO, like it's an ICO public sale includes pre-launch
Yeah.
sale, right? Like that's not
Yeah.
so it's not perfect, but it's a lot. I mean, if there's anything that I deduce from this chart, it's that Solana is a VC playground. It is not decentralized. It shouldn't even claim to be.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like, and I don't know that they do, honestly.
You never see them beating that drum. They beat their drum about transaction time and
Speed, yeah.
speed. They're never like we are the this, that, or the other. They don't really say that. Now, don't get me wrong, just like I was willing to, I'm gonna take that off because I don't want to share my screen accidentally because I was just sharing my whole desktop there. I didn't realize. Um
That's
the
how you get hacked.
Exactly right. I don't want that. Um Look, I was willing to play ball on CZ chain for a long time. In fact, I still have some
No
money there.
more.
Not a lot, but I was.
I
Uh,
you can't get in and out anymore, dude. I got
I
like
know.
way before I was just like, all right, I don't think I'm gonna be allowed to use this someday. And so I just stopped. I took everything off of there and I'll never ever put any money back on there ever again.
The
Because
the
the
Sealer
citizen,
Bridge is super tight though. Just I mean, I
I
know
looked at that. Yeah.
it's very nice, very good. Back when you and I were like talking about this, it was you had to go through
Yep.
Binance. It was a huge pain in the
Yeah.
ass, and it was
Yeah.
like this is not
Scary,
worth the
dude.
regulatory issues. This is not
Yeah.
worth moving real money through. So I agree
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, no doubt. I know. So I know that you're somewhat up against
I've
up
got
against it here.
I've got a few more minutes. I've got maybe 10 more
Okay,
minutes.
so you got 10. So what is kind of on your radar now? And like, can you?
Yeah,
Uh,
I've got to call it 30-minute mark. So
okay. So we got a little bit of time. By the way, you got these. We were talking about this earlier. I meant to bring it up. I
oh
kind of
yeah.
let the conversation take me. So you can go
No, no worries.
check out the YouTube channel again. I find your talks very interesting to me, where it's kind of pulling all this stuff together at a level that I'm not classically trained for, where you are. So you guys check this out. You can get here through your Twitter, right? You just get to YouTube.
Yeah. The I think the audio version
Okay.
is in my Twitter.
Okay.
That's the video version. We also do some like educational videos for Bitcoin specific stuff.
What's that? So,
We may but yeah, we host the Value Stack podcast. It's essentially my friend Bo and I, who are both financial advisors by training,
yeah.
but Bitcoiners by nature now. It's kind of like us making, and it's not financial advice. Like we're not claimed to be always right. Like we're kind of figuring out as we go, and we're just trying to be a sounding board for each other,
Sure.
and to give people things to think about as they navigate what the hell's unfolding in this decade. So
Yeah,
um,
I think it's very interesting to hear. Like, I think you do a good job of breaking down like fairly complex concepts, particularly if you're getting into this. So I've always enjoyed it when I've seen it, and I've actually like scooped in. Never even told you that I've been like watching or hanging out. So I like it. You guys
oh,
should
thanks,
definitely
man.
check it out. Yeah, dude, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
we're on so we're on like Spotify. You can just search Value Stack Podcast.
Okay.
And then you can find it on YouTube. We're Catalaxy Cash because we also have like other content. And then we're on Fountain too, which is like a pretty cool new streaming service that allows it integrates with Bitcoin Lightning Network.
Okay.
So it's instant transactions, instant settlement. And there's basically no fee. I mean, it's like 100th, it's for all practical purposes, no fee.
Sure.
And you can stream sats like Bitcoin to us as you listen. So we had a couple
Really?
people we just got added. It's fountain.fm is the
Okay.
website. And we just got added there. And a couple people like I checked our wallet and I got like literally we're talking like 25 cents worth of Bitcoin. Like, but
Oh, that's cool though.
it's a cool and it's native Bitcoin. I can cash it out directly to my own wallet. And anything that's on like Spotify gets ported over. So You can check us out on there and can tip us in Bitcoin Lightning if you want.
Nice,
Um,
nice. That's badass. Look, I'm all for decentralization and things like this being integrated. I don't care what it is. Like, I know a lot of artists. I know a lot of people who like just bow. I say bow down, but really it's grab your ankles and take it with
yeah,
the man for the content they put out. And if like and more things like this where you kind of control your own
yeah.
destiny, like I'm all for it. Like there's so much fucked up stuff that goes on these days. And by the way, I think Omniflex on Cosmos does something similar too. They have their own. I need to learn more about it, quite frankly. Camel, we need to talk about that. Camel's in the chat. And he helps out with the Juno team. But like, I think that they're trying to do something there too, which would be pretty interesting.
Well, they're
Yeah,
taking two ways. I think what Cosmos is trying to solve is very similar to like what Bitcoin is trying to solve. In that, how do we take or Bitcoin Lightning specifically? It's like how do we take Bitcoin is slow by design because block times need to be long enough to where if let's say we're like a multi-planetary species at this in the future, there's a communication delay between Mars and Earth of 7 minutes, right? So
right,
you got
right.
to have 10-minute block time so that everybody can be on the same page. Uh,
Sure.
or on the same block. But no, more specifically though, like Lightning, like Bitcoin's blocks are slow and small because people need to be able to run nodes to maintain decentralization. Can't run
Right.
nodes, can't enforce the miners. Miners can coerce the network, change the supply, whatever.
Right.
So by running nodes, you enforce the network's security. But a lot of sacrifices are made in order to do that. A lot of trade-offs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bitcoin Cash said, "Hell no, those trade-offs aren't worth it. Let's make the blocks bigger." So Lightning come about and says, "Well, let's like figure out a way to like make work with what we've got and make these transactions instant, and you can do everything on its own, like kind of like on the higher layer instead of on chain." And I think Cosmos is saying, let's do, they're basically saying, or Lightning is saying, let's free up all the volume on chain by abstracting those things to a higher layer. And Cosmos is doing the same thing, but in a different way. They're saying, let's not do everything on Cosmos, the Atom chain, the Cosmos
Yeah.
hub. Let's have our own specific app chains
Yeah.
to free up the hub to make the main transfers that are worth tons of value. And let's take the less important transactions like buying groceries and shit like that, and let's source those out to a different layer, whether it's a different chain that integrates with it via the IBC model, or if it's all just using the same protocol, the Lightning, and
Sure.
it does it abstracts to a higher layer. Either way, let's figure out a way to stop the clogging of the throughput, which is what Ethereum has. That's why all these layer twos and everything have caught on, right?
Yeah, yeah. I agree completely. And by the way, like it's so funny because you hear Bitcoin maxis even talk about any sort of chain, like toxic maxis, not you. Talk about like any sort of change or doing anything else is a bad thing, but like that's a nice middle ground in my opinion, where it's like, Lightning gets a job done for what it is. And like no one's really ever talking about really, operating smart contracts with Bitcoin, right? Like it's just not what it is. The alternative in the space that it's fulfilling is a huge one. So why would you change it? If you could, Lightning being very interesting. And then, you come to the Cosmos aspect of that where they're doing the same thing, solving it a different way. I've yet to really find a person who's looked at Cosmos and been like, man, fuck this. Like literally
Yeah.
not a person that I know now thousands of people in crypto. I've probably asked hundreds and not one of them, unless they were literally of a competing chain, has been like, man, fuck Cosmos. Like it just doesn't happen.
Right.
Which is super, super wild. And like if you think about how it's growing in critical mass, escape velocity, whatever, based on that chart that you just sent, which by the way, I'm going to forward or copy and paste into Stack Labs so people can take a look at it because I think this is bananas. There you go, just sent it. People can take a look. Like that really says something about what you're battling against for the
Yep.
ecosystem to grow. Like,
Yep.
think about those people. 50% of Solana said we're gonna fuck. All right, they're in it. I pulled this up the other day. I think like the
Pennies.
initial dude, 22 cents. 22
Dude, I know.
cents.
Well, their chief of marketing I was talking to when it was like $1, dude, and they were like offering to pay me like in Solana, dude, and I ultimately like never got it because that was like actually that was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back because I was like really into Solana and I was like, holy shit, like all these things that you can do in DeFi. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Ethereum DeFi is cool, sure. Binance Smart Chain's cheaper. Solana's like fast and basically free. So
Yeah.
it's like all the best of both worlds. And then their chief marketing officer is like, hey, can we like tip you in this like shit coin that we printed out of thin air to like pay you to do work? And I was like, wait, that's literally what I'm trying to avoid by getting into Bitcoin. You can't just print money and get me to work for that money. So
right.
And that was kind of had this like realization where I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm missing the point. I'm getting distracted by all the fancy marketing.
Every day I'm straying further from my true path.
The VC money it's working because like these VCs, they're very good at like getting you to buy into their projects after they did and dumping on you. You're their exit liquidity. And again, Cosmos is one of the few, I don't know all the tokenomics of all these all chains, but out of the ones I've spent any kind of time diving into, it's more closely resembled to Bitcoin than many of the chains that have the smart contract functionality that maybe someone who wants to generate yield on their Bitcoin and understands the risk and still wants to do it, notwithstanding anyway, maybe that's like a place where they could go rather than give it to BlockFi and have them, do whatever kind of magic they do with it.
Yeah, 100%. And like I've seen some of the new projects that are coming up on Cosmos. Not every single one of them is fair launched or fair dropped or stake dropped.
Yeah, like Chihuahua token, dude. I'm good on that. Like I will not touch Huawei. I saw that and I was like, what the fuck is Huawei? And then I looked at it and I was like, I know exactly what this is. It's a pointless token.
Dude, that is, you have to have a dog. Dude, I have Sama, what is it?
You gotta have a dog
Samoyed on Solana, bro. Like you gotta have dog token. I'm not sure Huawei would have been my choice personally.
Yeah, I hate Chihuahuas anyway. They're ugly. They're annoying.
They're very yippy. Yeah,
I will say, I've still got 50,000 Dogecoin. So
there you go.
Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
It was the Cryptopia hack of 2017, 2018, or no, the hack was in 2019. But during that last cycle, I think it was like it was a 1/10 of a cent or something. And I had like 50,000 of them. It was like $50. And it was like right when I got into Bitcoin, it's like, all right, put a little in Bitcoin, put a little in Ethereum, et cetera.
Yeah.
Little in Doge.
Little in Doge.
Anyway. Dude, I was playing the shitcoin lottery.
I love it.
And
you know what though?
anyway,
if you go back and look at those, I think like 85% of those paid off. Just so you know.
Yeah. But no, not for me because I sold them all.
I know.
It would have taken you the one I didn't. Yeah. So the one I didn't sell was Dogecoin, and the reason I didn't sell it was because Cryptopia got hacked and I lost it all.
Really?
And I am in claims court with Cryptopia to this day, trying to get my Doge back, dude. I'm in a class action. Part of the class action against Cryptopia was a New Zealand exchange that got hacked and bankrupt in 2019. And I got the coins on there. I'm pretty sure they sold them. So I doubt that I'll get anything for them worth more than like a couple $100 maybe is what I'll get. But at the peak, dude, it was like 30 G's. Yeah, 30 G's or so.
35K. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, dude.
Isn't that funny? The first hold. There's an element of that with like Cosmos and staking to validators. You're like, I got 14 to 21 to 28 days to get out. Like you can't really be shaken by.
So do you not get interest when you're in that unbonding period? You don't get the staking income, huh?
No, you don't. So like when you decide I have removed. I accidentally removed shit from a validator on Secret Network when I was just trying to transfer it. And like, I did that not that long ago. And I still have like 10 days left for that thing to come off.
See, I need to move. Like I had started messing around with just like a hot wallet. And now that I was like, all right, I'm going to put more than like $200 in this.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, literally the gas fees to claim, even at Cosmos, like if you're earning interest on $200, like, a 5-cent gas fee is like your daily earnings, right? So like, so I was like, all right, I was like, all right, like like I told you, I was like, I have to have enough to care,
right?
And so I was like, moved it to a ledger, like a hardware device.
Nice.
No multi-sig for Cosmos, though. There's that Juno multi-sig, which stole if anybody who works for Juno, you guys can't just like take that Casa image. You guys got to get rid of that multi-sig image, bro. Like, yo,
I can't
like,
believe that's the
cut that
same
out.
image though.
It's
That's funny.
literally screenshotted from Casa.
Well, you know what the funny part is? Like a large portion of the Juno team watches this stream and is in Stack Lab. So when you say that,
yeah.
somebody will hear it.
I mean, like I sent it, like I told our team about it when I noticed it, like internal Slack, and then like we all basically were like, mockery is flat. You know, what is it? Copying is the best form of flattery. Like, it's a good image, man. It's a good. We don't actually care, but
I'm
like,
sure. Hey, it's good.
It's more of like I don't.
It's a genuflection to security, right?
Well, it's more of like, hey, like you guys want to look like you're thought leaders in the space. Like, don't be copying other people's IP because it makes you look like you're fraudulent, right? Like,
right.
Like it's some anyway, but they don't have multi-sig for like Kepler, like that I found.
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I mean, I refuse to trade or do anything anywhere, not on a hardware wallet after I got hacked.
Yeah.
So that was like when Highlander first told me to get involved was when, Adam was way down here. Okay. Like way
couple bucks
down here. It was
so
like,
were you in Adam when you were on the smart chain?
No, God, no. No, I wish you'd told me
even
about
though
it.
you were using
early.
Yeah, dude, because I have videos on YouTube. I'm not gonna dox my old channel, but you can probably find them. You can listen for my voice; you'll hear it. But I mean, there's videos.
This would have been
like,
when we were
talking about it.
Yeah,
it was October of 2020.
Yeah,
it was like $5 an atom, 4 or 5 an atom.
Yeah.
And I was like talking all about the Cosmos SDK and like how Binance Smart Chain is built on to be interoperable, dude. Like the way the last like 16 months have played out is literally hilarious.
I just want you to know that had you just YOLO'd your entire stack into Atom at that time, you'd be able to buy a lot more Bitcoin at this moment.
Okay? Well, what happened was, so I bought the Atom, but I accidentally bought 5x leverage on Kraken. And I didn't realize I bought it to stake it. But apparently if you buy on margin at Kraken, you're not allowed to stake. Like if that balance is unstakeable, your margin balance.
Okay.
And so I like couldn't stake it. So then I just like closed out the margin position and sold it because it was just an accident. But and I think I lost money on it somehow. Anyway. But dude, I'm excited to see how it's going to go. I think Kava is actually going to be pretty. I think it's a missing piece rather of the Cosmos ecosystem where you've got Osmosis as like this DEX like Uniswap and Curve. They need to get stablecoin pools.
Yeah, money market. I know.
Yeah, like because there's no impermanent loss there, or they need to get like the ranges of provisions like Uniswap V3 has. Yeah. So that they don't lose.
I would guess that's what Sommelier is going to do because Sommelier does that on Ethereum right now, and then Som is coming, to Cosmos. So that airdrop's coming soon. If you actually go to Sommelier.finance, which by the way, Jack was coming on Wednesday as the co-founder of. So I'll ask, like, are you guys gonna do this stuff? And like, we'll find out.
You need to do anything to claim them or like to get qualified for them?
I'll post the link. I'll send it to you directly, but I'll post it in Stack Labs as well.
Yeah.
But you might. Let me see.
Well, let me know. But dude, I think that like the compound Aave piece was sort of missing in the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah.
And being able to borrow against the problem is there's just not enough assets on the Kava market. There's only like Kava native assets, which is like Kava and Hard, whatever that is. And the naming needs some work, dude. Yeah, Hard Kava, dude. That sounds like a porn video, bro.
I got some Hard Kava. That's the problem with like development when you're not just like balls deep in VC funds. Shit takes time to get to, right? They can they can do it pretty quick if they wanted to and just raise a ton of funds.
If you pull them up, like it's app.kava.io. They've opened. It looks like I was looking at the Map of Zones website. I found that from you, by the way.
Yep.
And it was looking like their lending if you go to the balances tab and go to the bottom, you're on the right page.
Okay.
Just go to the bottom. You can see it. Look, boom. They've opened up the IBC channel with Osmo,
Oh yeah.
Luna, and and Atom.
Yeah. Akash,
Uh, and,
Adam. Yep.
and yeah, and you're able to load those. Now, if you go to the Lend tab, so you can IBC transfer those assets to native Kava, but if you go to the Lend tab, the only one that allows you to borrow against this is basically you can deposit Bitcoin.
Oh.
This is like Binance version of Bitcoin or Binance token,
Sure.
and you can mint. You can either mint USDX, which is their stablecoin, or you can borrow, uh, which like minting would create new ones in supply. You'd then have to burn them later, or you
Right.
can just borrow ones that are already in supply in the money market. And then you can earn 46% in the Atom token. And then you also, let's say you take a 50% collateral, put $1,000 worth of Atom token, you earn 46% return on that. And then you borrow $500 worth of USDX and earn, 34% on that.
Yeah.
And so I think if they open up more IBC assets, and I would love to see them like somehow get like real Bitcoin on here, like not the Binance version,
Right.
or just like other token. Like, weren't you telling me about the Ethereum bridge for Cosmos?
Yeah.
So I think you see that, like, and then you have all the ERC20 token standards bridged over to Cosmos.
Yeah.
Then you've got Kava become this. There's zero fee. You can literally broadcast transactions for free. Now you have like they're slow, right? But like you can do a subsidized fee.
Well, Osmo too, right?
Right. So, but this is like built in. Like I think you said,
Yeah,
Osmo's
no.
temporary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think it is temporary. Yeah.
so this like, and they have the swap too, where you can, but there's not a lot, right? They just only have these like native assets, really. So XRP, I'm not. Nope.
What the fuck is
XRP,
Bitcoin
Binance.
I'm sorry,
It's the
Binance XRP.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All these Binance peg tokens like need to go, but I like the what they just added Cosmos Atom token like a couple days ago, and then you can't even borrow against Osmo or Akash or any of these other IBC tokens yet. So I think this will be a big year for Kava.
Kava. Yeah, yeah. I'll ask about that. But these are like things that are coming up with, if Jack's on, I can ask about some. I can ask about, the V3 liquidity, and then also, shared staking, liquid staking,
Yeah,
and all that.
interesting.
That's going to be such a big deal. And this is part of my big bull thesis for Atom. In a lot of respects, when ETH deposited ETH was able to be loaned against and DeFi'd against
Mhm.
through Lido and obviously Anchor and some of the other ones, like that
Yeah,
became a big deal. And people pulled
I
a lot
know.
of money out to participate in DeFi. I think about
Dude,
the
I
Atom
locked mine
chain.
up first.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
I locked them up. I should have waited. Lido came out not long after, and then I could have like got the staking yield plus used them.
that's right.
Instead, they're locked up with Kraken, and I'm just
Right.
getting the yield and a nice little tax form at the end of the year that says, here's how much income tax you owe on your Ethereum that, by the way, you can't pull out.
That's right. We'll see you in 2030. when
In
ETH
30,
2.0
yeah,
launches. That's right.
exactly.
but yeah, I mean, like, seriously though, think about that. This ecosystem has been able to grow the way that it has,
Yeah.
relying on proof of stake. Okay, like every chain is proof of stake secured. There is no shared staking right now. There are no loans against things that are staked right now. Assuming that there's not some super fucked up thing that's happened, I
Mhm.
don't see a way that that's not extremely bullish for the entire eco.
I do too. Yeah, that's why. I mean, I'm always going to be a Bitcoiner.
Of course.
Again, like I'm not a aggressive investor.
Right.
Although some untrained eye may look at my portfolio, like if I call like my Vanguard rep, he'll be like, "Dude, you're off the charts," and I'll be like, "Dude, no, you don't understand. I'm risk averse."
You should talk to other people that I've talked to every day and see what they
You should
do.
see the guy trading dog coins.
I'm
But
in value. Okay?
but like I consider myself like I don't want to like I value loss. I am more scared of losses than I am seeking gains
Yeah.
because the way I see like our inflationary environment unfolding this decade. So
Yeah.
I'm like always in capital preservation mode, but I do think that there is a possibility that, like, if you hodl, you cannot get more Bitcoin other than what you earn and exchange, right?
Right.
Like, you always have to buy. And to me, like, the beautiful thing about hodling Bitcoin is that it doesn't matter how you do it. Like, it doesn't matter if you are a YouTube streamer, doesn't matter if you're a casino
Yeah.
purveyor or poker player. It doesn't matter if you're construction worker or venture capitalist or author or NFTs artist. Literally doesn't matter how you earn your coin. It just matters how many you've got, right? And
Right.
so, like you always say, like, don't, like, it's always how many coins Bitcoin do I have? Like, that's the goal at the end of the day. And
Right.
so to me, it's like you can't ever earn more. And I'm getting tired, older, and just like I got less energy. I want to, so there's less energy I want to expend to get more Bitcoin
That's
each
right.
day. And
Yeah.
so one of those ways to do it is to like be able, but you can lose, right? You can lose Bitcoin too,
You can
right? And
lose.
so,
You can lose. And like, look, I don't begrudge that. And I think you're right. This is where our paths kind of severed a little bit before. Cause like, yeah, I, as much as I, you know, have fun at Bitcoiners' expense, it's only because alts have gone crazy, NFTs have gone crazy while Bitcoin's
right.
held around. I still buy and hold Bitcoin with my profits. Okay. Like that is still my move.
And
Um,
that's right. And I
you
think
know,
that's the way to go.
but I'm smart enough, you're smart enough to learn about upcoming protocols and be on the scan on the lookout to essentially go, look, I had one Bitcoin, now I have three because I made some really good plays,
Right.
or whatever. And like that to me is a big deal long term. So
My, just to close this out, because I got to run in a
yeah,
second. Like, I think like my biggest concern with proof of stake is how does consensus, like, it's fine right now. Like, how does consensus get maintained in some kind of shit hits the fan
yeah,
government, government is coming after your ass, like, in that scenario? How does, how do we do we have the same confidence in consensus? And if the answer is yes, then like, okay, then I can see like the argument for proof of stake. But up to this point, and to this day still, I feel that Bitcoin's physics tied in proof of work, like the proof of work that's tied in real world,
yeah,
actual physical mechanical energy consumption. Like,
yeah,
it's tethered in the real physics of the natural world. That I think has the greatest chance of defending a coercion attack from a
yeah.
nation state.
An institutional attack or
Right.
like trying to
And
attack
I'm
the actual
not
perimeter.
and I'm not saying that like proof of stake can't, but I think that I am not as confident in it. And because of that, for my stuff that I view as like my emergency savings, because I very much do view Bitcoin as my emergency fund. Um, which sounds crazy again, but hey, if inflation's coming, you're going to need that purchasing power in an emergency. So,
Absolutely.
uh, which seems not to be doing so well. So, but for that, for that portion, like I do feel like in an emergency, you're going to want to have the most secure network that is
Yeah.
protecting your value. In a non-emergency, you kind of walk your way down the ladder, right? Like, I
Sure.
would spend like Atom tokens before I would spend my Bitcoin. Less implicit capital gains, but also like I don't have a 50-year hold for Atom,
Right.
right? Like, that's not my
Right.
time horizon there. So,
Yeah, yeah. Look,
um,
and I get that. There's nothing wrong with that thesis. If you say this is what actually meshes with my ethos and what I stand for, like I'm 100% behind that. And maybe it gets to the point where it is. I will say that I know you got to run.
yeah, yeah.
30-second answer. I need this. I need this from you because I just thought about it.
Yep.
Russia is about to lean all in on Bitcoin because they have the natural resources to manipulate what you were just speaking of. What are your thoughts
Mm.
on that?
They do have the resources, but they don't have the silicon,
True.
don't have the semiconductors, they don't have
Yet.
the specialized ASICs
Yeah.
yet. Supply chain is important.
Yeah. True.
Hash rate is important, not just the ability to like pay for the energy to mine the hash rate, but the actual computers that do it. So I think it's a very good thing that China banned Bitcoin mining last year for the like from a US perspective.
Yeah, true.
Because more of that hash rate is now in the United States.
Yep.
Now, that could be bad for US companies and US citizens, as the United States kind of has more of a proxy control over the network's hash rate.
Right.
I'm not scared of it so much that I'm scared of the political games that could come about. I
Yeah,
don't think
you're right.
like, if anything, Bitcoin has proven that 50% of the network drops off, no big deal. Half the coins in the ecosystem are stolen from Mount Gox. Like, it's not half, but like, no
Yeah.
big deal. The founder disappears, no big deal. There's a million hard forks, no big deal. Like, it's the honey badger, which is
Yeah.
why I use it as savings, right? But people, the one criticism that I will lean on to end us out is that Bitcoiners, people who are Bitcoin maxis, are very, very quick to defend Bitcoin. And most of those times they're right in that, like, Bitcoin will survive. But
Right.
what they are very quick to forget is that they are not Bitcoin. They are people. And people aren't as resilient as Bitcoin. So just because they can't take your Bitcoin doesn't mean they can't ruin your life by trying to.
True.
So consider that as you go forward into the dark forest.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought to end on. It's nice we're having a green day here for everybody, for Bitcoin, for Ethereum. Atom's up. Juno's doing what Juno does, which is just print. So that's doing great things. This has been a lot of fun, dude. Sorry, we had
Yeah, man.
some technological issues here at the outset, but
It's been good.
hopefully we'll do this again soon. And by the way, because I don't want you to pop off right away, I'm gonna end the stream. You gotta leave your window open because until your thing finishes uploading, because that's how I'll pull this together to make it. That's what it's doing. So if you
Okay.
could, I'd appreciate that. Then we can produce it. You can share it. I can share it, and we can kind of have a best of hits. So
Cool. I'll leave it
thank
open
you.
and just pull up my laptop.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Guys, BTC BAP on Twitter. He's got a ton of great info. Obviously, he's who I go to talk about Bitcoin things. And you should too, because that's not my expertise. So I go to the right people. So I appreciate you doing this, my man.
Yeah, and same here, man. I know the Bitcoin protocol, the multi-sig standards, pretty darn well. But when it comes to some experimenting on the cutting edge of what cryptography can do, that's where you're my guy. So
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I tell my friends, like, I don't take financial advice from anyone, but there's a handful of people, and really less than a handful. There's a few people that when they talk about stuff, I actually listen and don't think they're just trying to scam me and rug me. And you're
Not a
one of those
scammer.
people, Jared. So
That's going to be on the back of my book one day. Not a scammer.
Not a
dash
scammer.
BTC BAP. Yeah.
Okay, man. Well, be an honor to be quoted in your book someday.
Love it. Love it. No, good stuff, man. Nibbler says thanks for the stream, BAP. He shared your stuff too.
Thanks,
so
Nibbler.
very, very cool stuff. And yeah, we'll see you around the chat room too. All right.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me on. Take care, man.